All right, welcome everybody. So my name is Kelly. I'm the plant-based kitchenista. So welcome to the plant-based kitchenista. I guess we would call it the holiday class because we just had one 2 weeks ago. We have this one, and then we'll have two in. I need to get them posted and stuff for December. So all definitely holiday themed, but lots of really fun recipes. We are plant-based, whole food plant-based, and no oil. So we saute with vegetable broth or stock, water. And then sometimes we might use a little bit of white wine, but that's only like in a tomato sauce. But I really don't saute with that. So I would say it's probably vegetable stock and water. So we are going to be making 4 different recipes. So it's going to be kind of an action-packed group as far as going through the recipes. So we're going to do a Guinness pie because it's something a little bit different other than just the regular, mushroom loaves and lentil loaves and things like that that you see. And it's very pretty when it's made. And then we're going to do savory Brussels sprouts, which Jerry and I have been eating for probably 5 weeks now. We've probably been every single week and we make them. And they're just, if you don't like Brussels sprouts, I guarantee you will like Brussels sprouts this way. They're really, really good. And then we're going to do roasted cauliflower. We couldn't find, it was supposed to be a cauliflower Romanesco, but we couldn't find any Romanesco here in Colorado. So we just did three tricolors of the cauliflower. So we're going to do that with a Dijon vinaigrette. And then we're going to do apple crisp baked apples. And so some of the things I've got started, which I'll tell you here about a little bit because we've like with 4 recipes in an hour, what? So we're going to have Jerry introduce himself really quick. And I told him he had to keep it really, really quick because I needed to get things started. And sometimes he likes to chat. So no chatting.
Hi, everybody. For those who don't know me, I'm Jerry Casados, a plant-based nutritionist, and we're whole food plant-based for now 17 years. I did it for health reasons. Long story, but I'm well now, no medications at my age, which is amazing. So anyway, nutrition questions, go ahead and put in the chat window. I'll be glad to answer anything about what we do and how we eat, all that. But I'll be back. Let Kelly go. It's a busy night.
Push my okay. All right, so we're gonna get a couple things going. I want to get the Guinness pie. I want to get the Brussels sprouts and the roasted cauliflower. So pretty much everything in the oven. I did a little bit smaller amounts on some things just because when you got an oven, you've got like big baking sheets. Sometimes it gets to be a little much, but we will get this going and it's gonna be fun. So Guinness pie. So actually what I did is just to get, so we can get things started just a little bit easier. I actually steamed the potatoes and the carrots and the celery. And that way, when I put them in here and I get them going, and we're going to add a little bit of a non-alcoholic Guinness beer, which you don't have to do. You could add just, regular like vegetable stock and that type of things. You could also add in some, what am I saying, portobello mushrooms into it. And if you do that, that'll give you a nice brown sauce. But we're making it a true Guinness pie, but non-alcoholic, which is that way. So if you're following along, I added the vegetable broth when Jerry was chatting. So I'm going to add in the onions. We're going to get those sauteed up. Give that a couple minutes, and then I'll add in the garlic. So in the meantime, though, as I'm waiting for a couple things, like I said, I want to get things in the oven so they look good. So there's my tricolor cauliflower. So we have the kind of the orange yellow or a peach almost. We have the purple, which I think is absolutely beautiful. And then we have the white. So just the regular cauliflower. So we have those ready. We have the green, I think it'd be even prettier, but there wasn't any green around. So if you're following along, we've got the oven that's going. So we're going to toss it in some vegetable broth. And that's just going to keep it moist. So it's going to be more where it roasts, but it also kind of a steam roast when you're doing it, but it also get nice and brown on the edges. So you just do a little toss just to make sure everything's kind of getting in there. And this is where you can add salt. We don't cook with salt, or I don't cook with salt because I do most of the cooking. The reason why is because it's, food addictions, but it's also health. And so just making sure that, that we just don't cook. I like salt. So what I'll do is I'll just put it on the table. So if I want salt on something, then I'll add there, but I don't add it to the food because otherwise Jerry will need it and that's not any good.
Keep it low sodium.
Always low sodium. So I'm just going to do a little bit of black pepper. Do that. Oops, you want to lose it. So that's that. Let me grab the baking sheet. Parchment paper. I know you can use Silpat if you'd like. I use the parchment just because I like to throw it away and it's just less wash and that type of things. It's just easier. So I've got that in there. So I'm just going to put that on the baking sheet. Put this off the side. Spread it out. Look how pretty that is, just even without doing anything to it. The colors are beautiful. Who wouldn't want to eat cauliflower when it looks like that? All right, so we're gonna go in the oven. So I've got the oven because I've got so many different things going. I've got it set at 400. And then that way, this is 425. If you're doing it by itself, it's regularly 425. But since I've got everything else that's got to go in, I put it at 400. In it goes. We'll make the sauce here in a little bit. Put that to the side. Brussels sprouts. Said, if you don't like Brussels sprouts, try them this way. Even like your pickiest people, and they're so good. They caramelize. They're wonderful. We've been actually doing like big bunches like this. So like probably two of the bags of Brussels sprouts every week. And we shave them up really thin. So I just did a knife. You can do, using the mandolin. So I shaved them up. So they're very nice little pieces. So you don't get those big chunks. And I think that's what a lot of people don't like about Brussels sprouts is the big chunks. And so we shaved them up, and then we'll actually bake them. We actually take them and we're putting them in bowls. We're putting them in, like spaghetti. I mean, it's just all kinds of things that they're just delicious in. And that went up a bit. So the things that go on the Brussels sprouts, you've got 2 tablespoons or 3 tablespoons of coconut aminos. You could do the Bragg's. The coconut aminos actually adds a little bit of sweetness to it, which is kind of nice. So, but it depends. If you want it more, just a little bit more savory, then go ahead and just do like the Bragg's if you want. Just a little stir. Then you got a little bit of maple syrup. So 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. You could use agave. You could use date paste. You can use whatever you would like, whatever's your favorite sweetener. And of course, adding a little bit of maple syrup or a sweetener like that is going to give it where it's going to want to caramelize. Looks like I have some of the coconut aminos sticking to the bottom. And then the last 2 things that you add, like I said, it's an easy recipe. You've got chili powder, so your favorite chili powder that you're going to use. Some of the vegetable broth. They don't burn. So favorite chili powder, I would say do a mild unless you want it really spicy. So mine's a really nice mild chili powder, and then garlic powder. You sprinkle that in. And you're probably thinking, chili powder. It's really good. Highly guarantee you should try it. Make sure it's just good and coated. They smell really good too. Parchment lined baking sheet. And you'll think when you're doing this that you'll think, oh, they don't look like they're moist enough. It doesn't, I need to add more coconut aminos. And you really don't, because what'll end up happening is once it starts getting warm, you're going to see the maple syrup and you're going to see the coconut aminos start coming out. So don't add too much because then it gets really kind of syrupy. Spread them out. That's what they look like. They smell delicious. In they go. That way we've got our vegetables roasting. We back to our Guinness. I'm going to add in, so we just had the vegetable broth. We have kind of basically a small onion. Doesn't matter what, if it's white onion, yellow onion, red onion. We've got 3 cloves of garlic that's been minced. We add that in. Get your vegetable broth stock. If you don't have that, use water. Water's fine. Now we're going to add the potatoes, the carrots, and the celery. You'll notice over here on the side, I also have peas because I was like, that just sounds really good in like a Guinness pie to add the frozen peas to it. So we're adding those to it. So here's my par steamed, my small diced tomato or potatoes, carrots, and celery. And the only reason I did that is just because with the class and we've got 4 recipes going and we got a lot of things going in the oven, I just wanted to get a little ahead of myself. Otherwise, normally I would just, sit here and saute it in the pan and away I'd go. So a package, very good question. So a package is, about, they usually come in, they're kind of like that netty and they're about that big. So they would probably have about 25 to 30 medium Brussels sprouts. Great question. If you don't find the packages, they tend to sell them. They'll sell them here like individual, but then they'll sell them in the packages. So if you can't find the packages, I would do probably like about 50 of your Brussels sprouts, medium size. Got a little bit more there. Getting a little dry. So you just got the onion. So basically just like, you're ready, almost making a soup. You've got your carrots, your celery, your onions, and your garlic. Don't have to cook that too long because I already par steamed it. Get that out of the way. Then we're going to start making a roux. This is where it's going to give you that thickness and that kind of that ooey gooey when you want something that's like a Guinness pie. So we've got, I'm going to add my spices too. I've got rosemary and thyme, and you'll notice that throughout these recipes, especially for even like the Dijon, the roasted cauliflower with the Dijon vinaigrette, also has a lot of the same spices. So we've got a half a teaspoon of thyme and a half a teaspoon of rosemary. I'm using dried. You can use fresh if you want to. You would use the same amount. If you're not a fan, I know some people are not a fan of either thyme or rosemary, then you could just do, straight salt and pepper and not worry about adding this, or you could add like the poultry seasoning or sage or something like that too. Add your favorite spices. All right, so here we've got the all-purpose flour. So you can use, there's gluten-free, so rice flour or any that type of thing. So I've got 2 tablespoons. So I'm going to sprinkle that on. It's almost like you're getting ready to make a gravy. Sprinkle and I'll stir. Smells really good with the thyme and the rosemary. And a little bit more. That way it doesn't get so gummy. Okay, got that in there. That's stirred. Now we have the Guinness. So there is Guinness non-alcoholic. So this one's 14.9 ounces, which is way more than you need, but that's okay. If you've got somebody at home that likes beer, they can just help themselves to the rest as you're making it. Or you can make a double batch. So be careful when you're, especially if you're, I'm doing this over an induction burner. It's like a little, there went 2 ounces. I don't know how it got shaken, but that's okay. Clean up. So Guinness is a really dark beer. So favorites of, if you go to Ireland, pretty much everywhere you go, you're going to run into the Guinness beer. So be careful when I go saying before I had a little bit of explosion here. Be careful if you're doing this over a stove because any kind of anything that is alcohol is highly flammable. So like when you see the shows and things are like flaring up and that type of thing, you want to make sure. So almost what I would recommend if you're doing it over, especially like a gas burners, is I would take it off the gas burner, kind of bring it over and put it on a hot pad, and then stir in your Guinness, even though it's non-alcoholic. Just do that just to be safe. It basically just says Guinness. It's non-alcoholic draft. So it gives, so Jerry's asking, like, what does it do to the recipe? it gives you the nice roux. So it gives you the flavor of a little bit of Guinness with the flavor and stuff, but without the alcohol. So it's going to give you a nice, almost like I was trying to think, like the umami. So it's got it'll have a little bit of kind of like the hops and that kind of stuff that's in there that just makes things really good. We'll get some of it stirred. Leaving a little bit in the bottom just so we don't go over the amount. And I can show it really quick. It's just, this is the one that was in the store. But like I said, if you don't want to use the Guinness and you don't want to go buy it, then if you want more of the kind of that darker roux, which is really nice, just grab some portobello mushrooms or one big portobello mushrooms and use the gills within the mushroom. So don't scrape them out. And when you do that, it'll add the nice darkness, like the nice rich brown colors and stuff to your roux. And that works out perfect. Okay, now I'm going to add the tomatoes. So I've got 1 can of the basically like diced tomatoes. And then what I did is I just took a fork and just kind of like, got some of the big diced pieces and stuff out of there. You could also, if you didn't want to have like any of you're not a big chunk tomato person, you could just use the complete, like, what is it? Like crushed tomatoes and that type of thing to give a little bit of flavor. And if you don't like I know some people that don't really like a lot of tomatoes, you could just add some tomato paste. So if you want a little bit of that tomato flavor, but not the chunks of tomato paste works great. Well, that's going to go in, and I kept the liquid. A lot of times you're draining out the liquid's in there. This out of the way, so room. Give it a quick stir. And I'll tell you what it tastes like here in just a few minutes. So I'll show you what it looks like right now. So it's starting to look like a nice stew. Smells wonderful. Peas are going to go in. These are just regular frozen peas. It's probably about a little over a cup. Like I said, that is not on the recipe, but it sounded just really good. This is one of those recipes you could add all your different vegetables. You got extra, let's say you make it one time like this, but the next time you have like extra cauliflower, it's almost like you could make it like a clean out the fridge type of a Guinness pie, which would be fabulous. Okay, make sure we've got everything in here. So we've got the tomatoes in, we've got that. We're letting it cook for a little bit. We're going to let it thicken up a little bit. So we're going to do a puff pastry on the top. You could also, if you don't want to do a puff pastry, you could just do a regular like a pie crust if you wanted to. Or if you didn't even want to do that, you wanted to skip all the kind of crust and stuff, then use like mashed potatoes or sweet potatoes, so almost like a shepherd's pie. So you could switch that out too. So you could just have a really good starch day, which is really good. We had that not too long ago. I made a shepherd's pie, which we're going to make in one of the December classes. And I made having the brown sauce and all that. And then we had sweet potatoes and stuff. It was a big starch day, but it was really good. This out of the way for a minute. So I do have a puff pastry. So I just kind of like spread it out a little bit here and there, because what I want to do is I'm going to cut it in strips so that if you saw the picture, we're going to do a lattice on it. And that way it puffs up and it's got this pretty lattice. And then you have like the little bit of the roux and stuff that's bubbling out, which is really good. All right. This is where you can taste it, and this is where you can add your salt and pepper. Unsalted pepper. And I am not a beer fan, so we know this is good, even though you're adding the Guinness. Needs to cook a little bit more. I'm going to get it going like that, but because it still needs to warm up a little bit because the peas aren't all. It has a very, very nice, just almost like a kind of a darkened roux type of a flavor. So almost like I would say like a stew without any type of meat or anything like that in it. That's what it reminds me of. All right, let that cook. Let's grab. I was thinking about this the other day. Instead of worrying about knife cuts, pizza. You don't have to do the lattice if you don't want to. You could just put the puff pastry on it, and then you'll put some, like, put a couple slits in it to make sure things can bubble out. You could do it that way. Or I said, like you said, you could do mashed potatoes. So many different things you could do with this. You could also make it, you could also just do it regular, just like a pie over the top. And then you could take some of the pieces and do like little leaves and stuff. So you could make it really, really pretty. I've done that before, which is fun. Let's see if it goes with heat. But like I said, it reminds me so much of a stew. Okay, let's pull this. I'm gonna let this cook for just, well, now I think I'm gonna get it. Let's get it going. So you can do square pan, square like a baking, like Pyrex baking dish. You could do a deep dish. So this one's a deep dish pie. I make a lot of pies and things like that during the holiday seasons. And we go over to Jerry's daughter's house, and I can't even get in the house unless I bring anywhere between 2 and 3 pumpkin pies that are deep dish. They're not vegan, the ones that I give them, but they've tried them over the years and won't let me in the house unless I actually make them. We do that. I've made all kinds of things, but I like things that are deep dish. And so I've got pretty much all my pie pans are all deep dish. Let's grab a ladle. Ladle a little bit out, and then I'm gonna tip it. Maybe not. I'm just ladle it out. So think about all the good starches and vegetables and everything else that's in here. It's about enough. Have about a cup left over so far, but yeah. All right, then you grab, I'll just start in the middle, your strips. Do one in the middle. And let's see, we'll do, kind of have to play with it a little bit. So you can do it the real lattice, or you could just put it together just on top. I'll do the real lattice on there. And when you get to the edges, crimp it off. Grab the next piece. And I'm going to go under, over, under, over, and under. And get it straight. You can get it as close as you want, or not as close, doesn't really matter. Okay, oh, so that one's over, under, over. Okay, and you just do a quick trim. You could make this, like I said, you could make it really, really tight if you want. I'm leaving it a little more open so I don't have as much of the puff pastry to eat. You could also, if you didn't want to cut off the pieces, you could actually go in and crimp it like you would do with the pie. So just do the nice little kind of the scalloped edges. All right, I'm gonna get it in the oven. And remember, puff pastry, a little bit different than the pie crust and stuff. This is gonna go in and it's gonna puff up a lot. So that's why I didn't do it as close as normally. Get this in the oven. Let me check everything that's in here. Pull out my Brussels sprouts. You can see what they're already starting to look like. To see all the moisture, that is all of your, that's all of your coconut aminos and your maple syrup. And they smell so good. So see where they were starting to get all nice and caramelized? They still have a little bit ways to go. Like the gas oven's getting a little bit of my parchment paper. Grab some. Look how pretty, look how dark that purple got. Isn't that pretty? Do a quick stir. One. Few more minutes. Cauliflower. All right, now, so this is going to be a little. Oh, you know what I didn't add? What I didn't add into it? I just remembered. I didn't add the basil. Missed the basil on the Guinness pie, so we'll add that on top. Jerry and I will do that on top. We'll do that later. Okay, so we've got the Brussels sprouts. They're gone. Guinness pie is gone until it comes out of the oven. We will need to make the sauce for the roasted cauliflower, and now we've got the apple crisp. These are fun. These are fun desserts, and if you've got kids and stuff, they love to do these. You'll have to help them, of course, cut the apple. So regular, just a regular size apple. You can do them really big. You can do them really small. It doesn't matter. But what you do is you just want to cut the center out. So I just did it a square. So I just did a cut this way and this way. So I have one here. I grabbed a serrated knife. I just did a square. You have an apple core, which I thought about earlier this week. I don't have one, and I thought about ordering it on Amazon, and then I forgot. So that's why I'm doing it by hand. So I just did that, and then I sliced it like a triangle in the corner. So I'm just taking the corners off like that. And then when you do that, you just kind of put your knife in there, and then it just pops out. So kind of a quick, easy way if you don't want to have to go get an apple core. And then you still have your middle. So then just kind of get in there with your knife and pop it. And put some cuts in it. Don't cut all the way through the bottom. It does happen. So if it does, don't worry about it. Just get in there and just kind of pry out with a knife, or you can just grab a teaspoon. I'll do this one. Sometimes though you get a teaspoon in there and sometimes it'll break your apple. So just be careful. There we go. All cleaned out. This one's already cooked. I'm going to get this one in the oven. Just start getting it going. Goodness, those Brussels sprouts smell good. All right, so we are going to make the inside. So we had 4 apples that we started with. We took 2 and we cut them up. So let me grab everything that's over here. So I have 2 apples that are peeled and cut up. Those are going to go in the pan. It's got that in there. So we're going to do 1/8 of a cup of light brown sugar. If you don't want to use light brown sugar, you could actually use agave. You could use date paste. You could use any type of sweetener. You could use monk fruit that you want. So you're just looking for a sweetener. That's what you're doing. If you make this and have extra, really good on oatmeal the next day. 1/8 of a teaspoon of cinnamon, your favorite cinnamon. And then 1/8 of a cup of apple juice. If you don't want to go to the store and buy apple juice, just use water. It will work. You've got so much sweetness coming from your apples, you don't have to have the apple juice. Okay, let those saute. So it just basically smells like apple pie in a pan. And they'll get really soft, which will be great. Then for the crumb topping, because that's the best part. You've got 1/8 of a cup of rolled oats. Do not use your quick oats, because your quick oats, what'll end up happening is they'll get, like, with the moisture hits them, they just get to, like, they're like hard as a rock. So definitely use your rolled oats. You get 1/8 of a cup of that, and 1/8 of a cup of the light brown sugar again, or the date paste, or monk fruit, or none. You just use no sugar at all. You want? Had it in the fridge, so it got a little crunchy there. Then we've got a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. You get cinnamon in both places. And then you got a quarter, so basic 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. So I think I've got a little bit more than a 1/4 cup here. So I'm just going to mix it in. That's good enough. Let's mix it up. So what you're going to do is, once the apples are done here and they're soft, we're going to put the apples, we're going to stuff them, the apples in here into the hole. And you could actually, if you wanted to, take more of your apple out if you wanted to, but I just left them small. And then you're going to put, once we have apples in there and we stuff it full of the apple, then we're going to put the crumb topping on top and we're going to put them in the oven. Making sure everything's all mixed up. Let's check. Brussels sprouts are looking good. See where they're starting to get caramelized? The leaves are getting caramelized. So keep your leaves that are off to the side and stuff. Usually you'll throw them away, but you'll get these little caramelized leaves like this. And they are the bomb. This is so good. Like I said, it's one of our favorites. And the chili powder, because you're probably thinking chili powder. The chili powder, it just adds a little bit of a kick on it, especially if you use, you want to use the mild chili powder. Add just a little bit of kick and stuff, but with the coconut aminos and everything else in it, really good. And talking to me. Cauliflower. That back in. Pie is cooking. All right. There's my apples. The longer that you cook them, the more that like any of the liquid and stuff is gonna dissipate. But I'm actually just gonna drain them just a little bit. And I'm gonna grab my other one that I put in there to start cooking. So that I can They don't take very long. They take about 15, 20 minutes. You think because it's an apple, it would take a long time to be able to do that, but it really does not. Okay, I'm getting some scissors. That corner is driving me nuts. Beautiful apples. I don't remember if I used that spoon. Really stuff the apples in there because that's the best part. But leave the top as flat as you can. And the reason why, like that one once, and what I do is like when we go to the store, when you're looking for the apples, look for ones kind of like play with them a little bit and make sure they sit flat because you definitely don't want an apple that's going to topple over on you. And you just do the topping. Like that. Now, those look pretty. They're not even baked yet. In they go, the oven. Pull the cauliflower out now. It's ready. I'm going to pull the Brussels sprouts out because they're ready. They're like candy. When I make them, and Jerry is not a big fan of Brussels sprouts, or at least wasn't. When I make them, and the first time I made them, he was standing in the kitchen for probably 15 minutes, just eating them piece by piece by piece. They're that good. Okay. Grab everything we've got. Don't need that towel. For the sauce for the Dijon vinaigrette. There. So we've got for the Dijon vinaigrette. So we've got the shallots. Let me just make sure I've got everything in there. Okay. Yep. The vinegar. I'll show you which one I used. This is one. You don't have to use this one, but this is just the one because usually everybody will ask me. I just had this one, which was Prosecco wine vinegar, which just has a really nice flavor. So it's just a white wine vinegar, whatever is your favorite, whatever you have in your cabinets. So you're going to use to follow along. You've got 3.5 tablespoons of the white wine vinegar. It's going to go in here. Then you've got 3 tablespoons of a shallot minced. If you can't find shallots or you just don't want to go out because you're like, I'm making the recipe, I forgot the shallot, just use like a like a white onion or a red onion, or like you could use scallions, that type of thing. You just want something that's really like a mild type of an onion, and then you just dice that up, that in there. And then we've got a tablespoon of fresh or dried thyme, and then finely chopped and fresh, and then 1.5 teaspoons fresh or dried rosemary. So those are all mixed together there. I'm using the dried. Then we've got Dijon mustard. So a tablespoon of Dijon mustard, my favorite. Love Dijon mustard. So it's going to be kind of the Dijon vinaigrette, of course, but it's going to be definitely a mustardy type of vinaigrette. If you don't have a Dijon, you could also use like a stone ground. So it would just give it a little bit different flavor. But if that's what you have, you could definitely use that. Nothing better. I've had a recipe one time that had stone ground. Let's see, think about this. Dijon mustard, yellow mustard, and stone ground mustard in a dressing. And so it was like a really like type of mustard dressing. It was one of the best salads I'd ever had. Let's mix it up. And then I'm going to add a little bit. I'm just going to play with it. It's a quarter cup, but I'm just going to play a little bit with the vegetable broth. And the reason why you're doing that is you're making sure that that dressing is going to be dispersed over all of your cauliflower because it does become a little bit thick. So we're pretty kind of a holiday looking dressing. Very good. Put that off to the side. Taste wise, got a little bit, it's got that, because it's got that white wine vinegar, a little bit of tartness. So if you're not into like a vinegar kind of a tartness because of the Dijon mustard too, then what I would do is recommend, can add a little bit of date paste or something like that to do it. But with the sweetness of the cauliflower, because you've roasted your cauliflower out, and you're gonna have the sweetness of that, and you've got a little bit of the tartness of the dressing, those two will mix really well. And we grab not too hot anymore. Get some things out of the way here. I think I'm going to grab, I think I'll just do it now. Pretty little serving dish. You can serve what's really nice about this. And there's two ways you can do it. You can do it warm, like what we're going to do tonight for dinner. You can also make this just a cold. So you could actually do everything the day before and add the dressing to it. And it becomes like a cold, like a cold or a room temperature side dish. So whatever your favorite is, or if you've got a lot of things that you're trying to do for the holidays, this is a great dish to do the day before and just let it marinate and with the dressing and stuff, and then serve it the next day. So here's the dressing. And then I'll mix it up. Grab a big spoon. Oh, that looks good. It's all puffing up. The interesting thing about when you do the purple cauliflower, it starts bleeding a little bit into the dressing too. So you're going to get a little bit of the kind of the purple pink color. We have any greens? I'm thinking, I'm gonna grab some scallions really quick. I like fresh greens on things. Let me do this real quick. I'm just gonna add some scallions. The only reason I'm doing this is I do like the freshness of it, but it also makes really pretty pictures. And I take pictures after the classes. So the greenery in there, it's really nice. Put that out of the way. And show things to you guys. So that's the roasted cauliflower. And like I said, normally it has Romanesco in it. Couldn't find any Romanesco in Colorado, or at least in Denver area. So we did the kind of the yellow orange cauliflower. We did the purple and the white. And then we did these, the green and stuff as the scallions that we added. And it's got a Dijon vinaigrette that's over the top of it. So let's take one. Grab the dressing down here. It's really good. A little bit of tartness from the dressing. Like I said, if you don't like the tartness of the dressing, add just a little bit of sweetener if you want to, type of thing. But otherwise, really good. I like the sweetness of the cauliflower because it's a roasted, and then you've got the tartness of the dressing. And it's just, you put that on the table, it's just really pretty. That's one. I think I'm gonna get a smaller bowl for my Brussels sprout. I've made these for neighbors now who are like, those are the best Brussels sprouts. Really good to have around in bowls. So if you just, make a whole bunch, especially now that, you walk into the store and they pretty much hand you, baskets full of Brussels sprouts. There's so many in the stores. So you could actually make a whole bunch of them up and then just, put them over rice, put them over, all kinds of different things. They're just delicious. And they're all caramelized. Like I said, they're really thin. You don't hardly even taste the chili powder at all, but it just blends so well. It kind of gives you a little bit of that just a teeny, not a hot bite, but a flavor bite. And then you've got the garlic powder, but then you have the coconut aminos and the maple syrup and stuff, which makes things caramelized, which is really nice. Well, a little bit of greenery. If Jerry could, his hand would be in this right now. Roasted Brussels sprouts. And this one, because I was making a little bit less, this one, because I know you asked about the 2 packets, this one was actually about 1 packet. So maybe 1.5 packets. So you can see that, when you make it and stuff, it really condenses down a lot. It's almost like spinach and stuff. It's like you put, 5 pounds in and you end up with a pound. So that's the Brussels sprouts, which are wonderful with everything. That is ready to go. Okay, so I need to, it'll be hot. Without spilling. I need to get it moved over. So 1 second. There. So I can scoot it. Basil. And if you ever have leftover basil, freeze it. Just pull it off the stems, just like what I'm doing there, and put it in the freezer. I have probably 3 bags, 4 bags full of like the sandwich bags of basil in there. And so I'm always using it for sauces and everything else. So what I do is I just took the largest leaf, put the smaller leaves in there, and I just rolled it up. And then a chiffonade is just basically, so it says chiffonade cut. It's just basically doing small little slices all the way through. And this gives you these nice little ribbons. That's a chiffonade cut. Nobody's going to complain that I forgot to add the basil on the inside because it makes it just as pretty on the outside. It's a bigger piece. And it's basil. Here. Looks like about 1 minute or so. What time we get? 6:22. We've got a couple minutes. Get rid of the rest of the green onions since we don't need those for the apple. What do you guys think so far? Does it look like a good way and stuff to spend the holidays? Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty. And it's really good. Good and hearty. That's what I always think about with Thanksgiving is, that's you eat a lot. I mean, I think people just think of it as the food day, but to have things like this that you can put on the table. I guarantee you, like somebody, if you took this to a party, that I guarantee you people would eat it. They would be like dipping it up and you'd end up with about this much left and everybody else would help themselves to it. So, and the Brussels sprouts, I mean, everything else, these are just, basic side dishes. So you'd be the hit of the party. Yes. Healthy and good. Show you the apples. They're not quite done yet. What did I do with the? What I'm going to do is I'm going to add, when I put them back in the oven, add just a little bit of moisture on the top. So like caramelize. So apples, these are wonderful. So what you do is like when you put them on the table and you've got like kids and things like that, you can just slice them up to different slices. And then like with some soy ice cream or, coconut milk ice cream, whatever you do or something like that, these are the best. It's like having your own little apple pie. And yeah, like I said, if you have kids, kids love to make these. We actually did it one time over at a bunch of friends and family and stuff. And we had all the kids make up these and they loved them. They were like, oh, this one's mine type of thing. So we've got, so to go through everything, and this is our dinner tonight. Aren't we lucky? Well, let's put it this way. Isn't Jerry lucky?
Yes.
So we have your cauliflower with a Dijon vinaigrette. You can do it either warm or cold, either way. So you could actually make it the day before. We have your roasted Brussels sprouts that have a coconut aminos with maple syrup. And then it has a little bit of chili powder and garlic powder, which the bomb. This is our Guinness pie. The only thing that I did different in the Guinness pie is I actually added peas to it, but that's, like I said, this is your pie. Make it up, make it whatever you'd like. And think about, switching it up every time. Maybe you could make it more Mediterranean one time or something different. So that's the way to do it. And these are baked apples. So they have on the inside, so they're baked apples. On the inside, they have apples that have been chopped up and they're all sweetened. And then they've got a nice little crumb topping that's on the top. So this is, like I said, dinner. This is a great way and stuff. If I went to like a Thanksgiving and stuff and this was here, I'd be a happy camper. I'd be like, I'll take this and this and that, and I'd be great. So I hope you guys enjoyed. So we're going to be doing, so we do two more classes in December. I'll try to get them up either tomorrow or by the first of next week, and they'll be up there for you. And we'll be the same thing. So more holiday recipes and a lot of fun things and more desserts and, all the kind of different things that we can do. Of course, the desserts always have a little bit more sugar and things like that than we're looking for. But you're only going to do it once in a blue moon. But, most of this is an apple, so it's good. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope to see you guys in 2 or 3 weeks and have a happy holiday. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you get on the site, if you make a couple things, I know you were talking at the beginning of doing like a pasta. If you make some different things or you make some of these and want to throw up some pictures, please do. Would love to hear what you guys do. So it's all about sharing, community, and happy holidays. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your night. Talk to you soon. Love you. And have a nice night. Bye-bye.